The debts Pricetti contract was signed in bloodless ink, but Jasmine Carrington felt the cut deep in her ribs. Her father's trembling hands had shoved the pen toward her, his voice a broken whisper. It's the only way too. Save his crumbling empire, his drowning name. It's the only way to pay a debt that wasn't hers. Across the mahogany desk, Drake Valentine watched her with eyes like polished obsidian, his fingers steepled, his suit worth more than her father's. Entire estate. A man who owned cities, with a snap of his fingers. A man who now owned her. Jasmine. Her name rolled off his tongue, smooth and lethal. You'll find I'm not as cruel as the stories say. She didn't flinch. I don't care what you are. His smirk was a blade. You will. The wedding was a farce. No white dress, no vows spoken. With love. Just a judge, a signature, and the weight of Drake's hand on the small of her back, steering her into his black limousine. His touch burned through the fabric of her dress. His penthouse was a glass fortress overlooking the city. All sharp edges and cold light. Jasmine stood in the center of the bedroom, her arms wrapped around herself. The door clicked shut behind her. Look at me. Drake's command was velvet-trapped steel. She turned. He'd shed his jacket, his shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal corded forearms. His gaze dragged over her not like a man admiring a woman, but like a collector assessing a newly acquired piece. You're my wife, he said, stepping closer. That means every part of you belongs to me. Her pulse spiked. I didn't choose. This choice is a luxury. His fingers brushed her collarbone, sending a traitorous shiver down her spine. One you no longer have. When his mouth crashed onto hers, it wasn't a kiss, it was a conquest. Jasmine shoved against his chest, but his grip tightened, yanking her flush against him. She gasped, and he took advantage, his tongue claiming hers with ruthless precision. Her body betrayed her. Heat pooled low in her belly, her nipples pebbling under the thin dress. Drake growled, sensing her weakness. His hand slid down, cupping her ass, lifting her until her legs wrapped around his waist. You'll hate me tomorrow, he murmured against her lips. But tonight you'll scream my name. The bed swallowed them whole. Jasmine woke to silk sheets and the scent of himdark, expensive, clinging to her skin like a brand. The morning light cut through the curtains, illuminating the bruises on her wrists, the ache between her thighs. She sat up, clutching the sheet. To her chest, the bed was empty, but the indent of Drake's body remained. A ghost of his possession. The door opened without a knock. Drake stood there, already dressed in a tailored suit, his dark hair slightly damp from a shower. A tray hovered in his hands, steaming coffee, fresh fruit, a single red rose. Breakfast, he said, his voice low. Jasmine glared. I don't want anything from you. He set the tray on the bedside table, unfazed. You'll eat. I won't have my wife fainting from hunger. Wife. The word was a shackle. She turned her face away, but his fingers caught her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. His thumb brushed her lower lip, slow, deliberate. Last night, he murmured, you begged for more. Her face burned. Lies, except she. Remembered the way her body had arched into his, the way she'd gasped when she jerked away. I didn't have a choice. Drake's smirk was infuriating. You always have choices, Jasmine. Yours just happened to be mine now. The gilded prison, the days blurred. Drake's penthouse was a fortress of luxury marble floors, art worth millions. A closet filled with dresses she hadn't chosen. He let her wander, but never alone. A bodyguard. Luca shadowed her steps. You're not a prisoner, Drake said once, catching her staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows. Aren't I? He stepped behind her, his breath warm on her neck. Prisoners don't get treated like queens. His hand slid around her waist, possessive. She should have shoved him away. Instead, her traitorous body leaned back into his chest, pathetic. But then the crack in the ice, a nightmare woke her one night. Sweat-drenched, gasping, she reached for the lamp only to find Drake already there, his arms wrapping around her before she could protest. Breathe, he ordered, his voice rough with sleep. She wanted to hate him. But in the dark, with his heartbeat steady against her back, she didn't. The first surrender, the breaking point, came in his study. Jasmine had stormed in, furious after discovering he'd cut off her father's calls. "You don't control everything," Drake looked up from his desk, calm. "Don't I?" She threw a vase. It shattered against the wall. Instead of anger, he laughed. Then he stood, stalking toward her like a predator. "You want to fight me?" He backed her against the bookshelf. "Then fight." She slapped him. The air stilled. Drake's jaw flexed. Then with a growl, he yanked her against him and kissed her, hard, punishing. Perfect, and God help her, she kissed him back. Jasmine had never hated herself more than in that moment when Drake's kiss turned her bones to liquid and her anger to wildfire. She pulled back, breath ragged, her fingers still tangled in his hair. His dark eyes burned into hers, triumphant. "See?" His thumb traced her swollen lips. "You don't hate me. You hate how much you want me." She shoved him away. "Go to hell." His smirk was infuriating. "Already there, darling. And I'm taking you with me." The rules of the game Drake was everywhere. At dinner, his foot brushed hers beneath the table. In the library, he accidentally cornered her between the shelves. Even in the damn elevator. His hand lingered on the small of her back, a second too long. Jasmine refused to break, but then the first true defeat, Charita Gala, Drake's world. Jasmine wore the emerald gown he'd chosen, the one that made her. Skin glow, and his gaze darken. "You're stunning," he murmured, his lips grazing her ear as they entered the ballroom. She stiffened. "This isn't a date." His chuckle was low. "Isn't it?" Then he appeared. Daniel Carter, her ex-fiancé, the man who'd abandoned her when her father's empire crumbled. "Jasmine." Daniel's eyes widened. "What are you doing with him?" Before she could answer, Drake's arm snaked around her waist, possessive. "She's with me." Daniel paled. "You don't know what he is." "I know exactly what he is," Jasmine said coldly. "Mine." The words slipped out before she could stop it. Drake's grip tightened. The unraveling later. In the limo, Drake was silent. Dangerous. "Why didn't you tell me about him?" His voice was lethally soft. Jasmine lifted her chin. "Why would I?" Drake moved faster than she expected. One moment, he was across the seat, the next. He had her pinned against the leather, his body crushing. "Hers. You're mine," he growled. "Every scar, every memory mine." She should have fought. Instead, she kissed him. Hard. The limo rocked. The breaking point, they didn't make it to the bedroom. Clothes tore, teeth clashed. Jasmine's back hit the penthouse foyer wall as Drake lifted her, his mouth devouring hers. "Say it," he demanded, his voice raw. She refused. He thrust into her, stealing her breath. "Say it." Her nails dug into his shoulders. "Yours." His groan was her victory. The aftermath dawn crept in, painting Drake's sleeping form in gold. Jasmine watched him, her chest tight. This wasn't love. It was something darker, something addicting, and she was losing herself in it. Asterisk. Jasmine woke to an empty bed and a note in Drake's sharp handwriting. "Meeting in Tokyo. Back by midnight. Don't set the penthouse on fire." She crumpled the paper with a scoff. But with Drake gone, the penthouse felt suffocating. His Joda presence lingered in every shadow, the scent of his cologne on the pillows, the ghost of his touch on her skin. She needed air. The forbidden room. Drake had one rule: stay out of his study. Naturally, that's where she went. The lock gave way easily, as if he'd wanted her to break in. Inside, the room was immaculate. A mahogany desk, a wall of monitors, and a single unmarked file. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Her father's debt, but the numbers were wrong. The amount Drake had paid. To claim her, it was triple what her father owed. And then she saw the second document. A contract. In exchange for Jasmine Carrington, all debts are forgiven. Additionally, $50 million will be transferred to Senator Carrington's offshore account upon consummation of the marriage. Her stomach lurched. Her father had sold her, and Drake had known. The escape she didn't pack. Didn't leave a note, just grabbed her passport and the emergency cash she'd hidden beneath the mattress. Luca, her ever-present shadow, caught her at the elevator. "Mrs. Valentine, move." Her voice was iced. He hesitated, then shockingly stepped aside. "Boss! Said you'd try to run today," he muttered. "He also said to let you." Her blood ran cold. This was a test, and she'd failed. "The hunt begins, Jasmine." It's made it as far as the private airfield before strong arms yanked her into a waiting car. Drake's scent enveloped her before she even saw him. "Did you really think I wouldn't find you?" His voice was dangerously calm. She spun to face him and froze. His usually impeccable suit was rumpled. His knuckles were raw, bruised. At his eyes, his eyes held something she'd never seen before. Fear. "You lied to me," she whispered. "No." He caught her wrists. "You lied to yourself. You knew what this was from the beginning." She jerked free. "You paid for me, and you let me." The words exploded from him, raw and ragged. "You could have fought harder, could have run sooner. But you didn't, because part of you wanted me." The truth hit like a bullet. The choice the jet took off into the storm, Drake didn't touch her. Just poured 2 glasses of whiskey and slid one across the table. "Your father's a coward," he said flatly, "but you're not. So here's your choice." He placed a key between them. "Walk away now, and I'll never follow. Or stay and finally admit this is where you belong." Jasmine stared at the key, at the man who'd ruined her, at the monster she'd somehow fallen for. Then she made her decision. The key glinted between them, a tiny sliver of metal that held the weight of her entire future. Jasmine didn't move. Drake's jaw tightened. His usual arrogance replaced by something far more dangerous in certainty. For the first time since she'd known him, the invincible Drake Valentine looked like a man who could lose. She reached out and pushed the key back toward him. His breath caught. Then she leaned in, her lips a whisper from his. "You don't get to make this easy." The war, the penthouse, became their battleground. Jasmine burned with fury, his betrayal, but most of all, with the terrifying realization that she craved him even now. Drake matched her rage with icy control. He gave her space, but never distance. Let her scream, but never leave. "You want honesty?" he snarled one night, pinning her against the rain-streaked window. "Fine. I bought you because I had to own you, because the first time I saw you I knew no one else could." Her nails dug in too. His arms, "That's not love, that's obsession." His laugh was dark. "What's the difference?" The turning point came in fragments. Drake, silently handing her a file with every secret of his empire. No conditions. Jasmine waking to find him watching her sleep, his expression shattered. Him whispering, "Stay," like a prayer, against her skin, and then the morning she found him in the kitchen, clumsily burning toast. His sleeves rolled up to reveal the tattoo on his forearm, a date. The day they'd met. The surrender lavender fields, that's where he took her. No guards. No contracts. It's just wind and sunlight, and the man who'd brought her to hell and back. Drake didn't speak. Just knelt in the dirt and pressed his forehead to her palm. Jasmine felt the tremble in his hands, and finally she understood. It wasn't about possession. It was about belonging. The epilogue 3 years later, the press called them a fairy tale. The truth was messier some nights. She still woke gasping, and he'd pull her close without a word. Some days, his jealousy flared when men looked at her too long, and she'd roll her eyes before kissing it away. But when their daughter was born tiny, perfect, with Drake's stubborn chin, he wept into Jasmine's hair. And when their son took his first steps, it was toward both of them. That's how she knew. Love wasn't about chains. It was about choosing to stay. Final line, as the lavender swayed around them. Jasmine laced her fingers with Drake's and realized the most dangerous thing about monsters was how easily they could become men.